step into the spotlight.
Couple lights on, cameras roll, time to break the mold. No more silence, every story's gotta be told. Truth in the air, no filter, no disguise. Real talk, real change, we open up your eyes. We got the voices that are changing the game. Fearless, unchained, calling our names. From the struggles to the rise, we expose, we ignite. No topic too deep when you step in the light. We got the answers, spotlight, let your truth be heard. Unfiltered conversations, every thought, every word. We challenge, we question, we dive in the deep, breaking the silence. No secrets we keep. From the pain to the power, the lessons we learn. Voices of the people, let the fire burn. Dr. Donna, Dr. Laxley, leading the way, guiding the truth in a world full of gray. Experts, activists, voices untold. Everyday heroes with stories so bold. This is more than a show, it's a movement, a spark, illuminating shadows, bringing light to the dark. We got the voices that are changing, be heard. Unfiltered conversations, every thought, every word. We challenge, we question, we dive in the deep, breaking the silence. No secrets we keep. Step into the spotlight, let your truth be heard. Unfiltered conversations, every thought, every word. We challenge, we question, we dive in the deep, breaking the silence. No secrets we keep. We got the voices, spotlight, let your truth be heard. Unfiltered conversations, every thought, every word. We challenge, we question, we dive in the deep, breaking the silence. No secrets we keep. And if you want the real, then tune in right now. We're breaking down walls, no backing down. One mic, one voice, one mission tonight. Step into the spotlight, let's get it right. Let's get it right. Head to the spotlight. Let's get it right. What do?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to In the Spotlight. This is the home of unfiltered conversations where real talk is what we do, and I am none other than Dr. Donna Thompson.
I'm Dr. Laxley Stevenson, and together we are your moderators. Donna, you're dancing.
The
What's up?
song's in my head.
The song is still playing in your head. I love it. Should I play it again?
Yes, play it again. It's still
Play
playing
it
in my
again.
head.
We'll play it at a break. How about that?
Sure. How are you?
I am awesome. It's thunder and lightning, all kinds of stuff happening outside my window. But I'm so grateful and thankful for it, right? I was in Jamaica, right, the other day, and there's certain parishes where there's no rain at all,
Mm,
zero rain. And then there are other parishes, right? I happened to be in Westmoreland, and it was raining every day. But then I went to St. Elizabeth, and there's nothing happening. So that we're having rain here, lightning, thunder, whatever it is, thankful and grateful. How about you?
Yeah, you know what? I am very grateful. Probably that's why I'm still dancing because because you're talking about when you were in Jamaica, right? And some time ago, that's kind of what we were experiencing. It seemed like we were just in our little world and the rain was just going around us, leaving us in the bubble. So yeah, thankful and grateful that we're getting it.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
we're getting the blessings.
You said in our little world, and sometimes that's not a bad place to be in your little world. So sometimes I'm digging that little world that I find myself in.
Hmm.
I spend some time in there, but that's a great place to go back and find yourself.
Absolutely.
You know,
Hmm.
so that little world can be a blessing, but we cannot stay in there. We got to get out of there at some point.
Correct. Yeah, you don't want to stay in the little world too long. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
Get
don't
what you
almost
can from it and then
don't
venture out.
overstay your welcome is what you're saying, right?
There you go. Yeah.
so, so yeah, yeah, yeah. So things are happening. I know we're in conversation. We're exploring possibilities, right?
Hmm.
About what is next at a collision with purpose. What I call, you call the movement, because
Hmm.
that's what this thing is. It is a movement, and it's moving in the right direction. And the good thing about this movement is bringing people along, right? So we're having conversations about what is next, and that's a big piece for us. What's next?
Right. Of course, we come up with ideas every single day, and depending on what kind of gets thrown at us throughout the day, it just develops into great ideas and initiatives. Of course, we just came back, we came back from Kenya. Well, actually, it's been, oh my gosh, it's, yeah, over a month now, right? Well, but it doesn't seem that long. So we came back from Kenya, of course, and that outreach was phenomenal. Touched so many lives, the people that we saw there and people that went with us, plus ourselves, of course, just, came back with so much inside of us. So, of course, we have that project that we're working on, which is to really document our experience while we were there for that time. So, all the individuals or team members that went with us, we all, pretty much were putting pen to paper and really documenting our experience there, and really putting that in a book. It's worth recording the experience, because of course we all experienced something different, even though we were all there together at the same time, but it touched us in different ways, right? So
Mhm.
really, really, penning our stories and sharing that with the world. So that's a major project that of course we're working on, and then really doing a real complete documentary of that trip that took place, because it was just so much, right? It was so much, from the highs to the lows to the fun time to the sad time. I mean, you name it. In 2 weeks, I think we experienced the country in a way that we did not imagine, right? We absolutely did not imagine, because it was just, so much happened. But it was good, because it was good work, it was meaningful work, and we learned a lot and we took away a lot.
We learned a lot indeed, and I believe that we did some work over there, lots of work, but we came back with much. You know, Going into Kenya for the second time, this was a very different experience. Very different experience, and felt like we experienced Kenya as we should. Going into the belly of it, so to
Hmm.
speak. Going to the belly of it, interacting with people, local people, experiencing Nairobi, and what a city that is. A city where no one is sleeping. No one is sleeping.
Hmm.
That place is going, it's bustling, it's happening. Everything is going on. And I saw some news today. I'm not sure if it's accurate, but I maybe shouldn't even say it, but I want to say it anyway, right? That maybe Nairobi, the United Nations will located there at some point. Could be fake news. I don't know. Whatever
Mhm.
it's news, right? And so things are happening in Africa. Africa is on the move. Africa is on the move. So if you are not in tune with what is happening in the different countries in Africa, highly recommend that you get with it. Check it out, find out what is going on. So as big things are happening there. Big things are happening everywhere. It's
Mhm.
happening here where we live. It's happening in other countries or Jamaica, where we're both from Jamaica, of course. So big, very important to us. And keep that in mind. There's a big event coming up here, and I think it's on July 9th.
July 9th. Mhm.
It's the
August 9th.
August 9th. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
July is done, huh? This is the
Mhm.
last
Today's the last day of
last
July.
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
July 2025. That is, because before you know it, we're going to be back in July 2026. Yeah. So Atlanta Jamaican Association Ball is getting ready to go down. So get your tickets. We will talking more about that on our Monday show and driving that home. That's a big deal. That's a big deal because it's all about giving back to the culture, doing the work. So, but we have a show tonight. We have a show tonight. We have a guest. We have a guest, and we don't want to keep her too long backstage. She actually is a good guest because she came on very early to make sure everything was okay, right? So we don't want to keep her on much longer. But before we bring her on, Dr. Donna, can we take a quick break and then we'll bring her on?
Yes, sure.
Okay, let's do that.
I'm a boy kid, I'm a boy kid. I'm a boy kid, I'm a boy kid. I wake up in the morning and I praise the Lord. I thank Him for His protection and I walk in His steps, declaring that today's provision is set up for me. I love God and I love my friends. Yeah, I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid. I put on my armor and I read His word, blessing come out of my mouth. Cause I know to whom I belong, I am bold for Christ. Holy Spirit dwelling within me, carrying His presence wherever He sends me. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. Loving others as He told me to pray for healing, miracles to see, knowing my identity in Christ, He is in me. I am a bold kid, He loves me, standing firm on His word, proclaiming everything I heard, not afraid because He is with me. Be bold. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. I put on my armor and I let His word blessing come out of my mouth. Because I know to whom I belong, I am bold for Christ. Holy Spirit dwelling within me, carrying His presence wherever He sends me. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid.
All right, welcome back to In the Spotlight, the home of what? Raw and filtered. What else?
Conversations.
Conversation. And tonight we're about to have a conversation. Dr. Donna, let's bring on our guest.
Yes. So before we bring on our guests, the person that we have with us this evening is none other than Coach Gloria Raynor. And she is a relationship strategist, a spiritual counselor, and of course, an inspirational speaker. And she's also an author. And she is a mother, a grandmother, and a purpose driven leader whose passion is really to uplift the broken individuals, take their broken pieces and just make them whole and put them back together again with no judgment, of course, in helping to build these individuals back up. So her message, is very profound. She has a very profound message, which is God can put together all the broken pieces of your life. Wow. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Miss Raynor with our drum beat. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum.
Good evening, Dr. Laxley, and good evening, Dr. Donna.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
It is indeed a pleasure to be here. I've watched you a few times, and also Dr. Laxley, and I appreciate the opportunity and the privilege in accepting the invitation to be a part of the show this evening. I hope and trust we will have a great and awesome evening.
Yes,
My name is Gloria Raynor
yeah.
from Toronto, Ontario, London.
Yes, Coach. Do you mind if I call you Coach?
That's fine.
Yes, Coach. It is our pleasure or honor to have you on today. And let's get into it. Because before we go into it, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am the seventh child of 10 children, born and grown in Jamaica, with a grandmother of 21 children. I migrated to Canada. Writing is a passion of mine. Seeing healthy marriages and healthy relationship is also a passion of mine. And I make myself available to help those who are in need of help and to help others to recognize in the kingdom we are here to serve and not to be served.
Donna, did you hear that? Here to serve and not to be served. How about that?
Yeah.
Coach, again, welcome to In the Spotlight.
Thank you.
Let's begin with your foundation, your faith. You describe yourself first as a daughter of the King. How has that identity shaped your future into spiritual counseling and relationship strategy?
I was brought up with the fear of God. For those who are from the island, you know you don't have to be a Christian to be in church. Once you're a child, your parents gonna let you know you got to go to church. So my foundation started at an early age by us having to go to church, whether or not we like it. And then as I grew up, I get to a place of maturity, realizing that I cannot live without God. I cannot continue living this life in this world without having a relationship with God. And that relationship had helped me to build a stronger relationship with those round and about me, and also to deepen my faith, realizing I cannot make it without Him.
You know, it's interesting that you say if you're from Jamaica, you don't have to be a Christian, right, to go to church. I remember that was a requirement. I was growing up. You just know that Sunday you're going to church, and then there's a one night in the week where you're going to church. so correct in stating that.
Yes.
Yes.
You didn't have a choice.
It wasn't a choice. Whether or not they believe, whether or not they're Christians, whether or not they go to church, you just know, and you can't answer or ask the question why, or I'm tired, or no, it doesn't work. You get up and you go to church, and as a matter of fact, it was twice on Sundays and 3 days in the week, and you got to be there. And I'm thankful for that foundation, because I believe if I didn't have that foundation, I don't think I would have survived it in Canada with all that I came into and all that I saw that I was not familiar with in the island.
Right. Wow. So, Coach, you've spoken about being barren with a purpose, which was very powerful and a deep spiritual phrase, right? Can you unpack what that really means and how it has shaped your personal or your professional journey?
Well, I followed a few women in the Bible that has been barren. It's actually based on Hannah of the Bible, along with several other women. There's 7 of them that stands out predominantly as barren women. But what I observed about it and what I find interesting about them, they all eventually were linked with the lineage or the connection or the birth of Jesus Christ. And as I looked at Hannah and I looked at my life and I looked at people around us, I realized there's many types of barrenness. It's not just biological barrenness, because the Bible tells us about the barren land, the barren people, the barren condition. There's a lot of barrenness. But what struck me about Hannah was that her barrenness was a deliberate transition or act of God. God chose to allow her to be barren for 130 years before he allowed her to conceive. And oftentimes I ask the question, when we are confronted with situation, some of us want instant answers. And then I ask myself a question, if I was faced with a situation that seems unbearable to me, would I be able to wait 130 years for an answer? Nevertheless, Hannah waited. And in her wait, there was a lot of obstacles. There was a lot of hindrances, or there was a lot of provocation. But what I discovered with Hannah, she had a purpose, and she had a passion towards a purpose. And she would not have allowed anything to deter her destiny. And it brings me to the relationship with God. Will I get to that place, or how do I get to that place? What do we need to do to get to that place where we realize that God is faithful? And if we are intentional and understand the purpose that he has for our lives, it will eventually be fulfilled. Our destiny will come to pass. And so I looked at Hannah and I declare, men are barren, women are barren, the land are barren. Some of us financially, spiritually, and mentally, there's a lot of barrenness. But if we stop long enough and look at the persistence of Hannah, the consistency of her, the deliberate act of prayer, deliberate time that she put into praying and seeking God, then it gives me hope to know no matter what we're going through, if we truly seek God, he will bring us out.
Barren with purpose. Well, Donna, can you imagine having to wait so long, the commitment that requires?
Um,
Mm.
I know personally.
And
Personally, give me a few years, and I'm like, I'm done.
I want it today.
I'm-
I gotta have it today. But there's power in that. There's
yes.
power in,
Yeah.
in that level of commitment, because even when you're in a hurry to get something, you're not getting it anyway. And often what you get is not what you need. Often what you get, what you're rushing to. But Coach, thanks for sharing that. Your grandmother, how many children did your grandmother have?
21.
21.
Wow.
So it's no wonder that you are a proud mother and grandmother, because that is your foundation. That's what you know.
Yes.
How has your role in your family informed the way you serve other families in your work?
Well, my mom and dad were the type of person in the community that has a love for those that were less fortunate. And we were brought up in such a way that on weekends, dad would bring the things in and mom would pack little basket or little containers, and we would have to take it to the less fortunate. And they did it in such a way that we should not or could not complain. And we developed this habit or attitude to know that it's not just about us. And over the years, going through life and looking at others running about us, we tend to have the tendency to remember where you're coming from, remember who you are, and never to look down on others, no matter who they are or no matter what their condition. And maybe because we were brought up, when I came here, I thought to myself, why did I leave and come? Because I wasn't in need of anything back home. My father was hardworking and my mother stayed home, but we were never in need of anything. We were not luxuriously rich, but we were comfortable. Never go to bed hungry. And for that, they always tell us to be thankful. Mom would say, if you come home and there's one banana on the table, I don't care how you're going to cut it. I don't care how you're going to dice it. I don't care how you're going to do it, but it must feed everybody. So we have learned to be our brothers and sisters' keeper. And in so doing, as we grow through life, we tend to remember the world is for everyone.
And of course, you model that behavior. That is a practice in your home. And do you see your children and grandchildren doing the same?
Well, for my daughter, I'm being told that it's like she is the, what do you call it now? She's the person that holds the family together. Because she is very hospitable and she likes to know that everybody gets along. So even when we kind of separate, because when we were in Toronto, we were more or less closer together. So every Christmas and New Year, we would have the family come together at my sister's place or at my place every year for Christmas and New Year. And then some move away from Toronto and they're all over Canada. And it still kind of caused an issue to her. So she set up a WhatsApp group where every now and then we all meet on WhatsApp group just to stay connected. And, she's the one, she goes to the extreme to look at ways in which emotionally, financially, and mentally we can help to bridge the gap that is existing between families or brothers and sisters when it comes to financial issues. So she's always trying to find ways to make things better for everyone.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Dr. Donna, I know you have a question on navigating brokenness and building wholeness.
Yes. And it goes just like what you're explaining with, your daughter and the capacity, how she tries to keep the family together. So you've worked closely with individuals, couples, families that they're having to deal with broken communications and emotional pain. What do you see as the most common root of some of those relationship disconnection today, and how do you even begin to repair such damage?
I think when I looked at relationships today and marriages and the dynamics, there's a lot of broken pieces before they enter marriages.
Mm.
And sometimes we don't assess it and sometimes we're not conscious of it, but we have baggages before we enter marriages. Whether it's by divorce or separation or family or hurt or pain or rape, there's a lot of baggages that has not been healed before we enter marriages. And so I enter into a marriage with a baggage, with several baggage, and the husband enter in with several baggages that were wounds some of the wounds are open and not healed. And we enter into this marriage now, not being able to know how to handle, we're not able to handle our own issues. So the question is, how are we going to handle my issue and your issue, plus whatever issue will be coming in? So I believe personally there's a need for a lot of dynamics before entering marriage. Understanding the responsibility and the role that goes with marriage before we enter in it. It's not just about the ring. It's not just about walking down the aisle. It's the responsibility that goes with a man understanding his role as a husband and as a father and as someone responsible for the home. And the woman understanding her role as a woman, a mother, and a wife, and possibly a mother, and what responsibility comes with it. And a lot of times we enter marriages without thinking about those things. And when it comes along, it becomes unbearable. It becomes heavy, it become burdensome, and we don't have the coping mechanism to deal with it. And so we start arguing with each other, we start picking at each other, we start disagreeing with just about everything. Things that does not call for an argument becomes an argument. So, and the fact that communication in many ways is an issue, because I leave home with my mother's principles and my father's principles, and you leave home with your parents' principles, and you come into a marriage, and we never stop long enough or have a conscious conversation. What do I need to take from my parents to bring into this foundation? And the husband doesn't stop to say, what should I take from my parents to bring into this foundation to build our own foundation? Many times we build on our parents' foundation, and because it now becomes 4 foundations, we don't have a solid foundation. And when trouble erupts, we look back what mama did, what papa did, what mama said, and we also go into another phase of conflict. So I believe that we need to examine ourselves, examine our brokenness before we enter into the relationship, and be ready and willing to be open to place our issues on the table and either work them out before we go there, or say, this is my problem. Let's work together so we can resolve it with the intent or the hope that we'll have a better marriage or family unit. And children, the lack of responsibility, because when you really look at it, Christ said to the husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Now, when a man becomes a husband and understand what that means to love his wife as Christ loved the church, we would have far less problems in marriages, because you would understand it's 100% commitment to that person, and vice versa, husbands and wife. And when the wife understands what Christ means when he said respect, reverence, and honor, and submit to your husband, when we understand those terms, we will have less problem in our mind, because Christ is not talking about submission in the sense of a mat, or not seeing you as equal, not seeing you as somebody to be respect, but is understand that our roles are different, and I need to respect you for who you are, and you respect me for who I am, and we build on that solid foundation that Christ has given to us, that when we are in error, we know exactly where to go and how to deal with because of what he has given us. It's a spiritual thing. Marriage is a spiritual thing. It's an intimate thing, and we cannot separate them from each other. But we enter with so much emotion that we block out the spiritual aspect of it, and by so doing, we tend to mess things up.
That's a lot. That's a lot to unpack there. You know what, Coach? Question on the foundation, what marriage represents as you, what marriage is as you just define it and explain it. Do you believe a young couple today, they're processing marriage like that?
No, most of us don't. And I think that's why we are having a major issue. And many of us believe that because we're adults, I know exactly what I need. And 9 times out of 10, we don't see the traps down the road. We don't see the hindrance. We don't see a lot of mishaps. And what we see at the moment is the love, not even love, we see emotions. We see our emotions, and I can't do without you, and you can't do without me. But deep on the inside, I don't even know who I am, and you don't know who you are. So we need to do a self-assessment, a self-reflection, and truly ask myself, who am I? What am I looking for? What am I bringing to the table? What do I have to offer to this husband or this relation or this family? And what do I expect in return? What am I looking for? And many times we don't ask those questions because we see our emotion. We see the desire for the flesh, and we go after the flesh. But after the flesh wears off, what substance do we have to stand on? And those are some deep questions that we don't ask ourselves before we enter into marriage.
Or into relationships.
And into relationship, and then it causes a problem.
Yes, indeed. Now, there's and just listen to you, there is a deep need for healing, self, right? That's what I'm hearing. But individuals, people, they're not making that assessment and examining self and say, I have issues or I have problems. There are other factors that is driving the need to get married, like economics. So, what do you say to this young couple when, as an individual, they can't survive, but coming together, it's going to give them greater potential to survive?
Well, the Bible tells you that two it's better for two to be together. You can keep each other, but at the same time, we have to look at the consequences
Mhm.
and the cost. We have to weigh the cost, because sometimes we say coming together will make it more effective, but sometimes it causes us more heartaches and pain. Number one, today, if you look at a lot of us, we're living above our means. We do not stop to manage our finances effectively. Quote unquote, not everybody, a percentage of us have no clue what it means to live within a budget. We have the system of fast food today, and everybody wants to eat out, and we want to save, and we want to prepare ourselves, and we want to be more financially stable. But we don't stop long enough to look at how many 50, how many 100, how many 140 we spend 3, 4 times a week on eating outside or dining outside or trying to entertain people to look good while we are dying on the inside. A lot of us don't realize that our credit card is not a cash card, it's a debt card. And we tend to use it to fill the gaps where our paycheck doesn't fill, and then eventually we become burdened to one another. So for a lot of young people, there's a lot of them don't want it, but a lot of them do need to understand. They need to have some basic foundational principles in regards to money, spending, finances, and a lot of things that really is destroying marriage today. They need to have some fundamental truth about it and reality about it before they enter into the marriage or into the relationship to save themselves. Because sometimes we say two together will do better. But then what happens when one is very spendthrift and the other one isn't? And I earn $200 and you spend $190 out of it. Leave me with $10. How are we going to survive the rest of the month? So there's a lot of things to take into consideration that may seem minimal because we don't really put it to pen and paper, but in the long run, it's very costly.
Dr. Donna, you respond to that one.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm taking it all in. Yeah, because there's, just like you're saying, there's so there's so many factors um to a relationship before you even get to the marriage piece of it.
Mhm.
That requires a lot of work that a lot of people have not done. And being honest with self is one of the most challenging pieces. No one want to say that I'm not perfect, I'm broken, and I need to be fixed, right?
Mhm.
Before they get into a relationship, much less marriage. But nevertheless, I see where you believe in a more holistic, spiritual, emotional, and physical healing process, right? In a world where everything is so compartmentalized with healing, how do you guide your clients towards that kind of integrated restoration and healing?
We have to bring them back into the reality of your body. We compartmentalize life, but if you look at it, our shoulder cannot do without our head. I may be able to do without a limb, a hand, or a foot, but if you take my head off, I'm no good. So when we look at everything that is going on, we need to get individuals to understand that when we compartmentalize things, we somehow have to be able to bring it back together. We have to be able to make it a whole. Now, you may not be spiritual or you may not be God fearing, but there's something out there that attracts you to consider yourself in need of something. You may get up in the morning and physically you're okay. Your body physically may be fine, but your mind is not stable. Your mind is distorted. There are certain thoughts that go through you. And in order for you to be able to get your balance, your emotional balance and your physical balance, you got to go inside of that mind and have a conversation with it. So if we stop long enough and to realize that we are triune, why we have so much problem is that we fail to realize that we are triune. We are body, spirit, and soul. And in order for us to function effectively, we have to acknowledge that the three has to work together to be able to function. So we don't function as we should because we're using the body and the mind and distract the soul, or we are using the soul and the mind and forget about the body. But we have to use all three together to be able to have a full functioning body, mind, spirit, and soul to be able to give us that satisfaction that we desire. Because many people are looking for happiness outside. We can't have happiness outside. Happiness is an internal thing. I have to learn to be happy with myself before I can be part of the happiness. So we are searching for things, but we first need to love ourselves, build ourselves up, understand ourselves in order to be able to give to others.
Amen.
Mhm.
Now you're watching In the Spotlight. Our guest is Coach Gloria Raynor. And we're having a conversation here about life. We're talking about life. But let me acknowledge some of the folks who are watching us. We have Verna Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. We have Shakila. Thanks for joining us. We have Dr. Reed. Thanks for joining us. We have Tremaine. Thanks for joining us. Tremaine. I was just talking about you. Just talking about earlier to Donna. Yes, so really appreciate you coming on and just sharing this journey with us. All right, so Coach,
Yes, Doc.
what do you say to a person who feels like their situation is too messy to be redeemed? In their opinion, it's just gone too bad, right? To redeem. How do you help them believe that God can put the pieces back together?
Once there's life, there is hope. I've gone through a certain situation in life, and folks expect that I would not be existing today. But my thing is, as long as there's breath within my nostril, there's hope for a better tomorrow. When I fall down and I'm still breathing, it's hope that I'll get up. So no matter how messy our mess are, in our mess, we have someone who knows how to turn our mess into something worthwhile. And I, for example, looked at a few folks biblically that we would consider was a mess, very messy, and in a big lot of mess. We had the woman who was caught in the act of adultery, who was taken out and brought before Christ. And they took the woman and brought her before Christ. And my question is, where was the man? So we have mess with mess, but sometimes only part of the mess is being dealt with. And we have situations where we think we're at the bottom of it all. And I think there's an old proverb, an old phrase that says, the man was hungry. He had one banana finger. He climbed up into a tree. He ate the banana with the intent to put an end to his life. Well, after eating the banana, he dropped the skin to the ground, and only to behold, someone picked the skin up and ate it. He came out of the tree and said, boy, life is not that bad after all. So today, I would say to anyone out there, no matter how messy your mess is, the moment you realize that your mess is messy, in that moment is hope. The very moment you identify that your condition, your situation is messy, that same moment is your moment of hope to say there's hope for me. There's a way out for me. There's a possibility for me. You just got to now use that touch of hope, that little ray of light, and ask yourself, where do I go? Who do I turn to? How do I cry out? And if you don't have no one around you at that time, there's a man that is unseen that you can cry out to. And if you don't know him, you can find a friend, because sometimes what happens, we are afraid to tell someone what we are going through. And by so doing, deny ourselves of help. That is something sometimes imperative to our situation. So no matter how messy your mess is today, I'm here to let you know, in the midst of your mess, as long as you identify that your mess is messy, that's your hope. That's your ray of light coming out. And if you take that ray of light and work on it and seek help and believe on your inner strength, because we have an inner strength that we don't often acknowledge, and turn it inside out and use that ray of hope and build on it, you can get out of your mess. And we do have tools and ways in which to work with individuals, because sometimes we just need to find the root cause of the mess. Once we discover the root cause of the mess, we'll be able to take care of the mess. But many times we don't get to take care of it because we're dealing with the bandages. We're dealing with outside surface without dealing with the source of it. And when we find the source of it, it can be dealt with. Hope that answered your question.
Sure did. And big piece here is you must acknowledge that there is some mess. Right? That's the story.
Embrace it. Yeah, acknowledge it, embrace it. Because once we acknowledge and embrace it, it makes it easier. But when I keep denying that I have a problem, I keep denying that I'm in a mess, I ain't gonna get no help. I have to literally come to myself and say, come on, girl, wake up. You're in a mess. You need help, and move forward.
That is it right there. Dr. Donna?
Oh wow. Yeah, and I really like what you're saying in saying that it's okay to acknowledge your mess. But I think it's also important for us to let our male know that it's okay for them to admit that they're in a mess as well. Because sometimes, like often, it seems like it's more women saying, my life is messed up. The marriage ain't working, the da 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 da, or the relationship not working, and all these different things, right? But men go through things as well.
Yes.
Right? Our men go through things as well. And I know the only male we have is our dear Dr. Stevenson. But I do want to say that our men go through things as well. And it's important for us to know that as humans, it's really okay for us to admit that it's just not going the way it ought to be, right? And get the help that we need, because we all have brokenness.
Yes.
All
And
right.
yes. And the reality is, if you look at it, we, the women, are at a greater advantage than the men.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, men hurt twice as much as us. Because
Mm-hmm.
we have wives and women who abuse their husbands or their mate like it's going out of season.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're male, they refuse to speak, because it's like, what will be said of me? How will my friends perceive me? So yes, men hurt twice as much as us. And because, again, we are in a liberated atmosphere where when we are wrong, we get the right. A lot of us abuse that privilege and right. So it's for us to understand also that a lot of men were brought up not to cry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men were brought up to think that expressing emotion is wrong. So again, when we find our mates, we need to have a serious conversation of your pain and my pain. What affects you while you were growing up? What affects you now? Wherein lies the issue, with the hope that you both can see each other eye to eye and work with each other to heal the brokenness, because until we heal the brokenness, there won't be any healing.
Right.
Donna, continue talking.
No, so agree with that, because I just know that, us women, we have a lot of support, believe it or not, but I know our men are, a lot of our men suffer silently. And then unfortunately, a lot of us take those broken pieces, try to bury it, and then move on to potentially another relationship, and you just end up keeping a bad cycle going, and
Yes.
destroying someone else and things of that nature that continues to happen. But we're talking about, love, covenant, and sacred relationships, right? And you teach about covenant marriage and the sacredness of love. Um, but we know that we're living in a culture where, we see oftentimes now it treats marriage like it's just something that's really disposable. You put it in the garbage disposal, turn it on and get rid of it. What do you believe is missing from our understanding of God honoring love?
The certain cycles need to be broken. Back to the men. And the men who are hurting, they also need to know that it's okay to say I'm hurting. It's okay to speak to someone, or probably speak to yourself, or grab a journal, go to the store, buy a journal, write your pain, write what you're experiencing, and probably every now and then sit back and reflect on it and ask, if it was someone else, what would I say to them? And start building a way of healing yourself. And if you find that's not working, seek professional help, seek counsel, or find a male figure that you can confide in, that will be able to encourage you as a brother or a father or as someone who understands what it means to need a shoulder to lean on. This sacred covenant is one that, when we understand Abraham and Sarah, or the virtuous woman, many of us ask the question, why would Sarah call Abraham Lord? Sarah understood her role as a wife and as a mother. And Abraham understood his role as a husband and as a father. And they treat each other with the respect that is needed, so they honor each other for who they are. Sarah did not at any point say, I am Abraham, I'm going to wear the pants. Or Abraham said, I'm going to wear the dress. I'm Sarah. They understood their role, and they understood where God plays into the picture. We know where Sarah get messed up and where God did what, but we're talking about understanding the role that they're supposed to play with each other, are supposed to be involved with. And when we understand it, we will understand the sacredness of marriage. Marriage is sacred. The Bible said the marriage bed is undefiled. Therefore, that intimacy that God wants us to share with him, he imparted that intimacy to us to share with our partners. When we understand the spiritual intimacy between God and man, and the intimacy between man and his wife, and how the spiritual component comes in to pack it in as a package, then we will honor the sacredness of marriage. We will see the importance of being faithful to your spouse. And we also have to understand, no woman makes a man cheat, and no man makes a woman cheat. It's the desires of our heart that we see something out there that is attractive, and we allow our heart to feed on those desires until one day we no longer see our husbands or our wife as who they ought to be, and we stepped out of our matrimonial home and we commit adultery. But when we understand that sacredness, When we understand what God means when he said, you are my bride, you are my own, I called you daughter, I took you in as my own, and now I expose you to a man to be your husband. When we understand that sacredness, we will be able to understand a holistic approach of marriage, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, and psychologically.
Mm.
Mm.
Donna, you heard
I've never been married, so this is some deep.
right? I want to. Coach is an author as well, and I wanted to talk about her book, Thriving. Tell us
Mm.
about this piece of work. Coach, what can you share with us about this piece of work?
Which of them?
It's on. Can you see it on the screen? Thriving.
Thriving beyond survival to thriving.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
you're not seeing it.
I can see, but I'm not sure how. I'm not. That's an accident. That's not mine. I'm not sure
That's
how
not
that.
yours.
No,
Okay, all right. Let's get it off of there.
but there's one I have. Mothers of Pearl,
hmm
weeping for rebellious generation, lost without direction.
hmm
So as we looked at life, and we look moving from Hannah, barren with purpose, fertility in dry places, to a book that tells us about mothers, about our society, about our children, about the hopelessness that many are experiencing. And again, it's going to go back to foundation.
hmm
You see, today we are living in a society where we figure foundation is not necessary, or everybody wants a foundation but do not want the truth that builds the foundation. And because we have built foundations on such shaky ground, we're now in a season where everything seems offhand to us. It's like we look at our children and we expect certain things from them, but we do not give them the tools to build with. And some of them get the tools to build with, but they got out there and get connected with the wrong source and somehow become messed up. We also in a society today where we have a lot of entitlement children and adults because we failed to build the right foundation. If we looked at our society now, a lot of parents and grandparents, we tend to use our gadgets to rear our children. As early as a month old, we have gadgets in our cribs and all over the place to keep them quiet, to teach them. But at the end of the day, what they're being taught are things that later on become bitter grapes for us. We're busy trying to make ends meet, but we don't have the time to see and monitor a lot. Some parents do, some don't have the time to monitor what their children see, what their children read. And by so doing, certain seeds are being planted in our children at a very early age. And then when they get to 9 and 10 and 11, we see some behaviors that we wonder where it's come from. And I'll give you an example. There's two young brothers. I think at the time one was 9 and one was 12. And they had a game that they play. And this game was a game that if you lose, the penalty is death. And it happened that every time they played the game, the bigger brother won. And the little brother never win. And one day, I went by their home, and he wasn't looking right. And I asked him, what's the matter wrong with you? He said he feel like dying. I feel like killing myself. I said, what? You feel like killing yourself? What happened? Anyway, to cut a long story short, He tells me about the games that they play and how we never win, and the end result is that the person that doesn't win die. Now I have to take a whole lot of time and find the grandmother and find them to talk to them, to ask them to monitor him, to observe him, to counsel him, and also speak to the brother and the father. Either watch the games that they're playing or ask the brother to allow him to win every now and then so he doesn't feel that rejected. So I say that to say sometimes we plant seeds in our garden, in our homes, in our children. And when it starts bearing fruit later on, it's some fruit that we do not like. And so today in our society, in order for us to be able to get away from this entitlement, we need to realize that we need to spend time with our children. We need to rear our children with certain disciplines and certain respect. We cannot allow the outside kingdom. We cannot allow the law. We cannot allow the world to grow our children and expect them to be fruitful in a positive way.
What a picture you just painted, but it's real. It's a reality. Coach, your mission emphasizes intentional communication, and you're talking about communication there, how we're communicating with our children. What are some of the practical steps couples and families can take to rebuild trust and re-establish meaningful dialogue in the home?
As parents, some parents need to understand that children are not objects, that they have a voice, and they should not always be silenced. We should allow them to speak, and when they speak, we should be able as parents to guide their conversation in such a way that they know right from wrong. We should also realize that they have a mind of their own. Just like how we're adults with a mind, they're children with a mind. But oftentimes we shut them down faster than they can speak. And sometimes we make them dormant for a very long time. And it's not very positive. We also have to realize that children are gifted in different ways, and parents, we need to observe our children's activity to identify who they are, what their likes and dislikes are, and how we can help to build them up to be that which they ought to be with confidence. And the same thing applies for adults. We need to learn that shouting is not communicating. Silence is a type of communication, but it's not the communication we need. We need to understand when there's an issue, find a way to resolve it, find a way to talk to each other. And if we're not the type for the one to talk, maybe just write a simple note. Say, okay, I said this morning, and this was what I meant, and I realized it offended you. And if it did, if you're ready or if you're willing, we can talk it over. Some people won't talk. Some people will write. Some people will send a note. Some people will send gifts. But whatever we do, when there's poor communication, we need to find a way to find your communication language as well as you find my communication language. And if we have to start from scratch so we can build each other up, not insulting each other, not putting down each other, not being critical. Every move I make, you're critical of it. Everything I say, you're critical. And no matter what you do, I never appreciate it. The man may not cook the way I cook. But if he comes in and decides to go in the kitchen, or if he's home and he goes in the kitchen and prepare a meal, when you come home, don't blast him. Oh, this doesn't have no taste, or this lack this, or there isn't enough season. Be gracious. Let us be gracious. And either accept it as it is, or next time you're in the kitchen, say, hon, come on here. We're going to go in the kitchen. We're going to cook chicken or fish or whatever. And show him how you do it. And again, some women cannot cook neither. And the man can cook, and they're blasted. Let us stop being critical of each other and learn to appreciate each other for what and who we are, and build on what we are intentionally so we can have a better relationship and improve our communication. It's listening. Some is for listening, some is silence, some is nonverbal, and some is just, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm hearing you. And at the end of the day, Let us deal with it as adults without yelling and shouting, trusting that we will reach each other somewhere along the line.
Now, communication is important. Effective communication. It's not just talking or talking or quietness and listening, but it's how well we do all of those. Very important.
Yeah, and I think, she coach pointed to something that I think is extremely important, that everyone's communication style or how they want to be communicated to may be different. So really having honest, open dialogue about who you are, and how you feel when certain things happen is very
Mhm.
important, because like you're saying, someone may not be they may not be a talker. Like a lot of women, if there's a problem, you just want to talk about it. You want to talk about it, talk about it, talk about it until you get to the end result. And men may just, they may just think, I don't want to talk about it. You're nagging me right now because it may be too much. And we have to learn as individuals. We have to learn each other and what
Mhm.
works. And yeah, and also like you're saying, coach, is you know being gracious enough and humble enough that if you said something or did something to offend the next person, to to be accountable, right? And be sorry about offending someone. So yeah, great insight there about really learning how to communicate with each other effectively.
And it's back to the initial conversation that when coach shared that you need to know your partner and
Mhm.
your children for that matter. You need to know
Mhm.
what works, what they like, what their dislikes are, and just know how to deal with them. That's not, and that's all part of being effective, an effective communicator. Now, let's talk a little bit about the parent-child dynamics. In today's, we live in a very fast-paced, tech-driven world, and you touched on that earlier. That from a child is 1 month old, they have the different things in the crib, right, with them. Well, in today's fast-paced, tech-driven world, how can parents reconnect with their children and nurture emotionally healthy relationships?
Nothing can replace love, Dr. Laxon. So it doesn't matter what I'm going to offer my child. If I don't have time to extend love and emotion, somewhere along the line, I will regret it or it will be regretful. So, in spite of the fast paced society that we're in, we need to budget time into our day to build a relationship with our children. And we can't wait until they're 10 and 12. By the time the tree is too old to be broken. So, if I have a child, and yes, our days are busy, our world is busy. And as we all know, the world has done it in such a way that both parents have to be at work to maintain a regular lifestyle, because some of them, although both are working, they are barely making it. So, but I think another thing that can be a contributing factor to help boost it is like you have a lot of husbands or a lot of men who goes out and come in and they sit before the TV and they watch the sports or they watch certain games or they do whatever it is that make them comfortable. And I go to work and I work 8 hours and I come home. And you expect me to go in the kitchen and prepare the meal, get the children ready for bed, clean the bathroom, probably set the bath for you, probably prepare your lunch for work tomorrow after coming home from 8 hours. Now, if you, the husband, understand that we are living in a world dynamics where both persons are required to work, and you come in, or if you come in before me, or it doesn't matter who comes in first, and you either start supper, or you get the children have a bath, or clean up the dishes, or do some. Instead of me coming home and spending 6 hours in the kitchen on top of 8 hours, that's 14 hours plus 2 hours drive, that's 16 hours in the day. In place of that, we come together and we do that together. It's done in 2 or 3 hours. It gives us an extra 3 hours or 4 hours where I can spend some time with the children. We can spend family time together out of that, because sometimes half an hour makes a difference. Now we spend half an hour as family time deliberately, quality, intentional time. Then we have an extra hour that we can spend together as husbands and wife before we go to bed. So if we really stop long enough and look at the dynamics that we are working with, and decide that it's not fair for my wife to come home, spend 8 hours at work, spend another 6 hours in the kitchen trying to get everything ready, and I sit in a sofa watching TV or what. No, that's one of the dynamics that need to change. So we do have little ways in which we can change, or we also can create a date night. Have a family member or pay a caregiver to come over for one evening in the night, and you both go out. Set a date night aside where you spend that time between you and your husband or your wife. And the same thing, if you have sons and daughters, fathers, create a date night for your children. Mothers, create a date night for you. Teach them what it means to be respectful. Teach them what it means to be appreciative when they go out there. So eventually, when they grow up and decide to select a mate, they don't select any and anything. We need boundaries. We need borders. We need to have values. When I have values on my life, what are my expectations? If Dr. Luxley come my way and he present himself a certain way, I'm gonna know you don't belong in my circle. You don't belong in my space. You may come in my living room, but that's as far as you'll go. So we have to look at the dynamics that is affecting our family circle or family dynamics and do something about it, because it's already messed up. And if we don't change it now, sooner than later, we won't have nothing to bounce back on.
Mhm.
I heard my name called there, but this is an example.
That's that's just an example. I don't know where but because you're right, that's just an example.
Yes, yes. Well, I don't want to be, painted in that.
Oh no, I'm just I
Well,
mean,
I'm just joking.
yeah. But it's just to say these are some of the things that we fail to do. If you go home and your wife is there and we don't stop to think about her well-being, yet we need each other. I'm gonna
Mhm.
tell you, I'm going to my bed.
Great point. Great
And
point.
he's not gonna like that. But if you don't take my time into consideration, we got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere. Donna?
Yes, look, and once again, right? What you're, I know we're our time, but I think this is such an important topic to be talking about. Um, but once again, like you said, we don't unfortunately we don't have the luxury these days of a lot of our homes. It's where both individuals are having to go out there and work, right? So it's not where back in the days where the wife is at home and she's pampering herself while she's cleaning the house and taking her time and doing all this stuff, cleaning the house and everything. So when the husband come home, the bath is ready and all that stuff. It's a little bit different these days, right? And we're having to work very hard. So just like what you're saying, is really being mindful and compassionate for each other, and realizing that if you share the load, it makes for so much of a better environment and home, and then no one is screaming at the next person. So just definitely being mindful and considerate of each other is so important, definitely. But
But Donna, before you go there, keep in mind that there are many homes with only one parent.
Yeah.
and this,
That's
yes,
a whole different
Well,
situation.
yeah, that's a whole different ball game
yeah.
also.
And just like what we were talking about, right? Like parents, how and raising our children, how do we find that balance to nurture our children, especially when you're having single parent homes and you may have a parent who's working potentially two jobs to pay the bills and all this stuff. Sometimes, you get home unfortunately, the stressors of life, the poor child end up feeling it, right? It's how do you really balance some of those things as patients, because as parents, because we're talking, we're all emotional, we all have feelings. Um, no, but yeah, really, what advice do you have on, yeah, with a single parent, whether it's a dad or a mom, because you have fathers who are raising their children, by themselves as well. How do they balance that to make sure they're providing the emotional support for their children and showing them the love and the compassion that they need?
We have to be intentional with our children. And we're in a world today where our children is not like 50s or 40s. Right? They are very brilliant. And we have to be intentional by dealing with them step by step. Now, as we have our children and we'll sit with them when they're at a certain age, there's certain things they don't need. But they start growing up now. If we're going to give them 15 minutes of our time, as love time or quality, let me 15 minutes of undivided attention. And as they grow, have a conversation with them. Let them know the dynamics run about, because you're going to give it to them according to their level of understanding. Baby, or by the name, I would like to be able to spend more time with you, but right now I have to get organized. We got to go to work. I have 15 minutes or half an hour. It's just you and dad or you and mom, and this is your time. Don't let no phone call, let nothing else distract you. That's their time. And as they grow up and they get older, you explain to them the cost of living or the reason why you have to be keep holding down two jobs and for their own well-being, and they may not understand it all at that time, but as they grow you keep telling them and you keep providing for them, because sometimes they don't need 2 hours, they don't
Hmm.
need 6 hours, they just want to know that mommy and dad put their arms around and say I love you, or acknowledge them when they enter the room. They have homework. Acknowledge, did you have homework tonight? How is this? How is school? They just want us to acknowledge and validate them. Men want to be validated. Girls want to be acknowledged. So even if we cannot give them 6 hours, the time that we're going to spend with them, let it be quality time that they know that that time is between them, mom and dad. And we can work on it, because there's 24 hours in the day. And if we really become intentional, we can find enough time to give them a half an hour or a 15 minutes quality time, 2 or 3 times a week, that becomes a part of them. And they know that mom and dad cares for them.
Hmm.
See?
Intentional. We
Mm.
have to be intentional.
So it's not just the time intentionality, but you also must make sure it's quality time, because you could
Quality
spend
time.
3 4 hours and it
Yeah.
is what
Hmm.
it is.
Yeah.
So Lisa, thanks for joining us. And Lisa, a comment: we need to ask our children questions. How are you doing today? And so much more. So true. So true. We're drawing down on time, and what a conversation we're having here. But it's obvious that we need to have the coach back on. Gotta have her back on, because what she's sharing with us today is big stuff.
Hmm.
So, coach, now I want you to give some advice, right? If someone is out there listening, they're on the brink. Maybe their relationship feels it's gone beyond repair, or they've given up on love altogether. And I know there's some folks out there like that. What encouragement would you offer them today?
I have a program coming up for August, the 7 pillars of relationship building, the framework. Um, Before the end of August, I would like to launch a business relationship strategist. And for right now, those out there who feel that it's hopeless, you can connect with us at Coach Minister Raynor, relationship strategist at Facebook or Messenger or WhatsApp. We provide tools and we provide a listening ear. We're here to hear where you are and to offer steps or tools that will help you to understand that you have what it takes to bring restoration to your relationship, to your life, and to yourself. But it starts with us a self-assessment. We need to assess our situation, assess where we are at and what's going on with our, and be truthful, be authentic to ourselves. In order for us to get out of our mess, we got to be authentic with ourselves. And we need, when we are at a point where we run out of solutions or run out of answers, sometimes it's necessary for us to seek help and find confidential help, individuals who you can speak to or confide in, and who will be able to help you to unload the burden that you're carrying, realizing that no matter how messy it is, there is always a way out of our mess. As I said, coming around the 15th of August, I will be launching the service. Minister Coach Gloria Raynor, Relationship Strategist. It will be available on Facebook. We will have different workshops and different situations. We will be there and we will be of service to those who need the service and who believe that they can further enhance their marriage as singles who are ready and prepared for marriage or prepared for relationship, whether it's with families or co-workers. Relationship covers a vast, a broad spectrum. And for those who are married and is having a little bit of rough time in the marriage, we're also here to help you to enhance those areas that need to be worked on, because sometimes we just overlook certain things that can enhance the relationship, that can encourage and build and help us to get to that place where we realize that we are not alone.
Mm.
And as a family, as a community, as a group, we're more than able to build each other up. We're more than able to support each other, to allow marriages to stand and to allow relationships to stand, wherein we impact and influence the lives of others round about us and for generations to come.
Mm. Coach, is there anything else you'd like to share with us tonight before we go? Please do so. No.
I think that's about it. I have a few books on Amazon. There's a book, Barren with Purpose, Fertility in Dry Places. Journey with the Father, where that one is based on men who feel that they were not validated by their father. That book is available with simple steps to encourage you and to show you how you can be validated and find your grounds and be able to stand with your shoulders held high and your mind in stride. And we also have, as I said, the one with Mothers of Pearl, mothers weeping for children, rebellious children in this our generation. And also, they're available at Amazon. There's about 6 books available on Amazon, or you can go to wrotebyme/Gloria Raynor. You'll find them there, and feel free to purchase one. And when you purchase one, you read it and you like it, you comment on it, and you just give us some feedback and help us to spread the word. We are more than able to stand with each other, to support each other, and to be the family that we ought to be when we trust and build each other up.
And tell us about August 15th again. Let's share that again.
On the 15th of August, there is a program that I'm ready to launch. It's a 2-year program. Singles who have found themselves, know who they are, know what they want, and are ready for marriage and has something to offer beyond themselves. And women who are in marriage but find that because they have been given so much of their time to children and husbands and situation, they actually deny themselves of that personal me time, of that love, of that personal attachment to them. And we want to help them to find themselves again, knowing that they also are a part of the equation. They cannot burn themselves out, taking care of everyone. they also need to take care of themselves, that they can be that beauty, that continuous pearl to the husband and that gem to the family, and that they will have a stronger union or unity or relationship as they go along. And that will be on August 15th, and the launch will be on Facebook. The time is not yet set, but it will be done on Facebook.
Right. Keep us informed on that so we can plug it for you and share it.
Okay.
All right. So, Dr. Donna, what a powerful and spirit filled conversation we've had tonight. Coach, thank you. Thank you for pouring into us with wisdom, truth, and a heart anchored in purpose. You reminded us that brokenness is not the end. It is often the beginning of something sacred. Your presence today has been both a balm and a blueprint for those seeking restoration in their relationships and healing in their hearts. Now, to our audience, I want you to hear this. If you are in a place that you believe you're broken, know that you're not. You're not too far gone, and you're never alone. So, whether you are rebuilding trust, rediscovering purpose, or simply learning how to love again, there is hope. And Coach talk about first, you must acknowledge that you have some challenges, some problems. So there's healing out there for you, and there's help. And let this be your reminder that when life hands you pieces, don't just try to survive. Build something eternal. Because wholeness isn't found in what you lost. It is born in what you choose to restore. Dr. Donna, I turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Stevenson. Wow, what a powerful Thursday evening. I definitely would like to extend another invite to Coach Gloria Raynor because this is such an important topic. Even though we spoke about relationships in marriage, but relationships is so much bigger, right? Relationships with our family, with our friends, with our children. We're living in a world now where they're also broken. And to your point, we need to fix it because we're going down a really bad path. With what we're dealing with currently. So definitely want to extend the invite for you to come back so we can continue this conversation. We are very humbled that you came on and spent your Thursday evening with us to impart your knowledge on us, of course, and we've learned so much from you being here this evening and sharing with us that I'm sure that there's some things that I'm quite sure we'll take back and look at ourselves and we can implement as well in our daily lives. To our audience, once again, we thank you for staying with us this Thursday evening. We certainly hope that you found something very enlightening in this evening's conversation, and you're taking away something as well that you can go and implement in your daily relationships, right, throughout your time, your days, your years, your family, your friends, your coworkers. Hopefully you've gotten something here that you can also implement as well. Your time with us, we do not take it for granted, so we do appreciate you spending your Thursday evening with us. Once again, tomorrow is Friday, and like always, we ask you to go out there and just do one act of kindness to a total stranger, someone that you don't know. Buy them some coffee, buy them a burger, something, right? But just let's find a stranger to show some type of kindness, and let's just continue to spread kindness throughout the world. And eventually, let's try to just make it become infectious, so that we can one act of kindness, and you never know, we can definitely change the trajectory of where we are and where we're going. We can definitely do better. So with that, have a wonderful Thursday evening and have a wonderful weekend, and you all be safe.
Thank you very much, Dr. Laxus. Thank you very much, Dr. Donna. And for those who watch this evening, I just extend thank you to each and every one. And I hope and trust you'll have a great and awesome week. Be blessed. And we'll keep in touch.
Thank you.
Step into the spotlight.
Couple lights on, cameras roll. Time to break the mold. No more silence, every story's gotta be told. Truth in the air, no filter, no disguise. Real talk, real change. We open up your eyes. We got the voices that are changing the game. Fearless, unchained, calling our names. From the struggles to the rise, we expose, we ignite. No topic too deep when you step in the light. We got the answers, spotlight, let your truth be heard. Unfiltered conversation.